Michael Ruse debate to those who are much better suited for engaging in, and just address this quote and the question that went along with it. And in this instance, I think I find the quote flat in a certain sense, that it has no, it seems to me, historical perspective. That, in fact, Denmark and Sweden, as these cultures exist today, are the result of engagement with religious practices, religious thoughts, religious experiences that are part of the history of the Swedish and Danish and other sorts of people. So to sort of set contemporary Denmark and Sweden apart from religion is to ignore whatever role religion may have played in developing the kinds of values that Danes and Swedes and others are living out in the contemporary context. Where that leads me, and it's a different place than where Storm goes. Like Loyal, I'm not hip on the truth thing, in the sense of this getting at these sort of absolute truths. Instead, I'm going to do the pragmatist thing again and say what I think is that there is danger in not understanding the role that religion has played in producing contemporary moralities. Whether those contemporary moralities are theistic or not theistic, to ignore the role that religion has played is to not, in the end, to remove an important piece of understanding contemporary life. And so I think, number one, it's utterly important, even if we're going to talk about what we see as the success of contemporary Sweden and Denmark, to understand what role, positive and negative, religious ideas, religious practices, religious experiences have played in producing this contemporary experience. And likewise, if we're going to talk about generosity in the American context, I think we need the specificity of analyzing the different roles that religion has played in producing competing American moralities. But following some others, I would say that ultimately, though, we are drawing a value system that is not coming from religion per se to do the judging of the role that religion has played. So that even in that analysis, we're still going beyond, in some sense, religion, in deciding how to value the different contemporary moralities religion has been a participant in producing.
I should say, before this discussion started, I made a bet with myself, when would I lose control of the conversation in terms of when one of my participants here would actually start to just answer their own question. And that was around 8:05. So,
you're trying to regain control now?
I assumed that once I lost control, it was lost for good. But you actually came back around. The question was great. I want to open it up for people in the audience to ask questions. You can ask a question either of one particular individual or law of four, though if you ask it of one individual, I do want to give the others at least a brief chance to respond as well, either to the comment that was made or to the question itself. But I will open it up now. You guys are hand up first. Go ahead.
Okay. Early on, there was a distinction made between good or thoughtful religion and bad or complacent religion. How do you sell good religion without abetting or legitimizing or elevating bad religion? Because they're obviously tied together in a way. Yeah. So how do you eliminate that link?
Volunteers.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly say, I think the same question is posed to any field of human thinking and practice and experience. Should we abandon good science because there's also some really bad science, eugenics, for example? And I would say no. Instead, we try to understand how we got the science we're marking as good and how we got the science we're marking as bad, and how to, in a sense, continue engaging in ways that promote one and not the other. And so in the same way, yes, there's good religion and there's bad religion. I think that's a fair statement. And I think people commit to promoting one and not the other. But abandoning sort of religion as a field of human experience and activity really doesn't solve that problem, from my perspective.
Other responses?
That's exactly what I said the same thing. I'll jump on that and say something on behalf of the idea of truth. I mean, I'm not trying to talk about anything too cosmic here, okay? I'm just trying to, and I'm not even claiming that I know it for sure. I'm just saying this whole conversation looks like nonsense if it's not true that some religion is good and some is bad, or science, or whatever. That is to say, our statements are meaningful only insofar as we're trying to say something about the way the world is, and I think we can actually reason about those things. I don't think that our reason gives us certainty about the outcomes. But I confess, I keep my hand on my wallet when people start telling me that what's true doesn't matter.
I think I'm the guilty party here for making a distinction between true religion and crude religion. How do you make a case for good religion without opening the gates?
Without making bad religion look good.
Sorry?
Without making bad religion look good or at least legitimate, I guess.
You know, I mean, you guys, I think, are lucky being at a college that has a religion requirement. I know it's onerous and all the rest of it, but it does give you the opportunity to be reflective about these matters. And a lot of places where they don't have religion programs, philosophy programs are weak. The students don't have a chance to really reflect seriously on the nature of religion and their own place in the religious spectrum. Here's what, this is my chance to get this out. I say this to all my classes. It's all I have to say to my classes, really. If you haven't had one of my classes, then you'll get the full benefit. I mean, if you take one thing away from this college, let it be the recognition that religion is not God. Right? Religion is not God. Religion is religion. It's something we do. Okay. There's another sort of footnote here, or parallel statement, and that is that science is not nature. Nature is nature. Science is what we think about nature. God is God. Religion is what we have to do, what we make up about God. Okay? So I think recognizing that, I think along with the recognition of that comes a sense of humility, do you think, about religious claims and the status of religion. And I think it's a message that I think is good for everyone to hear. Now, about life. Life is what it's about, I think. Oh, are you out of control? Have you ever, can anyone here think of a religious tradition that is not life-affirming? Is there such a thing as a religious tradition that is not life-affirming?
Does Jonestown count?
Well, no, I guess. Well, I mean, that was a perverse variation on Christianity there. I think Christianity, for example, Christianity is so committed to affirming life that it imagines a way that we can have it forever. I mean, it is, and I think that's what was going on there. It's, trade in this life for a real life. And I think that's a distortion, I think. I think in the end, well, it's a good observation, though. I mean, it's a good exception. But in the end, I think all religious traditions are life-affirming, even though none of them can demonstrate that life is worth having. They affirm it.
Okay. Eric, did you want to add anything?
I'll just echo humility, and I guess I call myself an eco-humanist if I'm calling myself anything these days. Is it good for life? Is it good for humans? And ask that of religion. I think it's a fair question, and that one, if you're asking it seriously, helps us judge.
Okay.